This is Ruth Bruner, and we are at Rain Dance Ted Sweetwater Grill with Ted Lind and Martin Lind. It's August 10th, 2020. And would you each introduce yourself, tell us your age or any little thing that would identify you for the Windsor-Severance Historical Society Collecting Oral History page?
Hi, I'm Martin Lind, and I'm 59 years old, and I've lived in Windsor my whole life, and I'm the last son of my dad's 5 children.
Okay.
And I'm Ted Lind. I'm the last of my family. Actually, the last that's left of the Lind family in my generation.
All right.
5 kids, Martin's the youngest.
All right. So, Ted, you were born here in Windsor at your home place? Where is that?
At the farm. Born, and they called the doctor. He came out. He couldn't get in the gate because it had a little hook on it. He couldn't figure it out, and he went back. Meanwhile, I was born, and my oldest sister and Dad took care of the business, and so I don't know. I suppose Mom got up and she took care of everything.
Right.
Took care of you.
I think she really wanted to get rid of me because beet harvest was coming in a month, and I would have been in the way.
So what year were you born and date?
1930, August 26th.
August 26th.
So we have a big 90th birthday party.
And I was about 2 months premature, so I weighed 3 pounds.
Whoa.
So they didn't know if I was going to make it or not, so they put me in a warming oven up at the old coal stove to keep me warm. And I was so small they fit in a shoebox.
That's funny.
So after about 6 weeks, I made it, and then I got a name. But I never had a birth certificate or anything like that. So we finally, I think I didn't get the. Let's see, we wanted to get a passport to go to Mexico. That was like 10 years ago or so.
Yeah.
And one of Martin's secretaries was able to get me
Ready to fabricate a birth certificate.
Fabricated
I
birth
went
certificate.
to church. They had church records of my baptism. And that's how they got my
That's
passport.
awesome. Okay. So, what do you remember as the youngest of 5 kids growing up, and where was the farm at location-wise?
Well, right where I'm at now, the same farm.
County Road 15
And
15 and 60.
15 and 60.
Yep.
yeah, same place. The lane is different now. You used to come in a different way, but came up through the corrals on both sides. And of course we had all the livestock. We had cows, and we had pigs, and we had chickens, and a few turkeys running around. And the turkeys would get butchered, like, for Thanksgiving. It'd be turkey dinner. So I had a few turkeys, but and Dad liked geese. He was about the only one in our family that liked geese. So about once a year he'd butcher a goose.
Okay.
And
So I know that out here at the Sweetwater Grill, there's lots of your old tractors and artifacts. So I'm curious how that hobby came about, and first, what were you like as a kid that led to that hobby?
My dad didn't like mechanical equipment. He liked horses. And so I was, from the time I was about 3 years old, I was a mechanic. Kept things running. So he'd get me to fix things, and that's what I did. It just became a habit with me. So I started collecting tractors many, many years ago. I probably have about 40 of them around.
See, one of my first memories of Martin when we came here in '74 was he said hi, ate some of Carla's yummy food, and then he went off to the dump to work on some project, find some part for something you were building in the shed. So
Right.
how did Martin learn to do that? Or how has that contributed to his life?
The necessity's the mother of invention.
Yeah.
We didn't have any money, so we fixed our own stuff. And we were in the junkyard all the time getting used parts and welding and putting it all together, bale wire, welding rods, and that's how we
And
kept
then
stuff going.
actually later on we kind of made a business out of.
Yep,
We probably made more money on the farm equipment than we did farming there for several years.
for sure, yeah.
Went to sales and bought equipment and bring it home and fix it and sell it.
Yeah.
We traveled all over. eastern Colorado, southern Wyoming, western Nebraska. We knew every road in the country.
Yeah.
Cool. So what do you think, what qualities did you learn from your parents, of values and morals and faith
Well,
that you passed on to Martin? Because this is our first intergenerational
Being pretty
interview too.
tight with the money, and it was hard for me to spend any money for a long time.
Still is. I spend money like crazy, and it drives him crazy. But
Yeah, I told Ramona the other day, I said, I'm working on 3 lawnmowers, and if you Martin, he'd have just junked them all and went and bought a new one.
I would have. Yep. We'd have a lawn mowed. Yeah.
Okay.
So growing up, fixing everything, I'm more on the other side where when you earn, you buy new stuff, and then it starts when you turn the key, and off you go. You get production done. Yeah.
So let's see, then I bought, first new tractor was probably in about 71 or so when John Deere came out with the 4430s. That was the first new tractor I bought.
Okay.
That was a big spender then.
Is that when you were married or?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So tell me about your wife, Carla,
Well-
and how you met. And
I went to Johnstown School because Windsor wouldn't send a bus up the hill.
That's funny.
So Johnstown would come around the route here on 17 and around back, 17 to 15 and back. So there were 4 or 5 of us that got on the bus and went to Johnstown. And so, but we had most of our business was in Windsor, but high school was in Johnstown. So I got to know a lot of guys from both Windsor and Johnstown. And then when we'd get to running around, Wilbur Gephardt, remember him?
mm-hmm.
And Bill Frank and Jim Young, the 4 of us would run around together all the time. And so we started going to the Leaser's Corner Drug
Which is now
That
the
was it.
Hawaiian Grill.
Saturday evening. Every night we'd go in there and all. Buy a 10-cent drink and spend the hour harassing the
Speak up a
waitresses.
little louder.
Well, one of them was Carla.
Oh,
And so finally one time, I think she was discussing, women were together, the girls, and they were discussing their boyfriend. And they weren't really boyfriends. And they all decided, well, he's pretty nice. And Carla says, well, that Ted, he always pesters me and I don't like him. So actually, we were the only ones that stayed together. Basically got married then, but neither one of us ever hardly dated anyone else, just the 2 of us.
just the 2. All right.
So-
So, Martin, what do you remember about your pension?
Well, they were Ward and June Cleaver.
Warden.
Yeah, we never saw them fight ever. It was a kind of a crazy, harmonious life that we had, and a lot of hard work. And I know my mom was really frustrated with the farm, so she went and got her degree and taught in Windsor schools for a lot of years. And there were a lot of years where she was, providing basic necessities that we just didn't have. So, but she, both of them worked their butts off their entire lives, and great ethical, hardworking Christian. Great values, great morals, and just taught us everything. Taught us how to be good humans.
Yeah, I remember your mom fondly. So, and
Yeah.
Ted's humor. What kind of sayings do you remember around the house, or humor, or?
Well, there was always laughter, but it was mostly about the people that were in our lives. We had some crazy hired men that were, a couple pickles short of a Happy Meal, and they created a lot of entertainment for us growing up. So there was always something pretty funny going on. Or Dad's dad was always
old musical instruments.
yeah.
So they always had guitars and banjo and everything else laying around.
So
Old
you were
violin.
musical too, Ted, not just Carla?
Right. Yeah. Always music in the house. Always a stray dog or a stray cat or something new. And a lot of strangers lived with us. Mom and Dad go to town, and somebody at church would need a place to live, and next thing you know, we got a new sibling living with us. So it was like that all the time.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Well,
Very
we
generous.
tried to help people then. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
more often it didn't work.
Yeah.
But you never know.
They
You
never
maybe
quit,
planted
though.
a seed. No, yeah.
They
you
get a
didn't
bad
quit.
one, and they would just keep getting more. And
One of the stories I can tell you about was a little guy by the name of Packy. And he was a brother to, his wife was Zeiler, Ron Zeiler's wife.
Yep.
And his name was Packy McCabe, and he was from Milwaukee. And he was in trouble from the time he was a little kid. So one time he comes out, and he stayed pretty much with us more than he did with his sister. And I had dry land 35 miles away or 40, and I'd go up there with him. He'd go with me, and I'd run the tractor all day. And one day I said, you know, you better watch, because there might be antelope, or you might see deer, or you never know what you're going to see out here. Because his dad had told him that, his dad told him, well, I don't bother.
Yeah. So,
Talking?
nope, we'll start that one over. They can edit that out.
Okay. Sorry, we had the
No, it's a little
background
noisy.
noise is fun.
Yeah.
At least we're out here where there's
Right.
progress, Martin.
Stuff going on, yeah.
So you helped the guy out.
So
and
his name was Patrick, I called him Packy. And so we're driving along up there, and here comes a herd of antelope across right in front of us. Wow, he'd never seen anything like that, because his dad told him, watch out for the Indians and the rattlesnakes if you go out to Colorado. And his dad was, you know, flaky, I think. But anyway, we got out to look at the wheat field, and the wheat was almost ripe, and walked out a few feet, and here was a big deer, doe deer, jumped up. A little fawn ran off, and his eyes are this big. You know. Well, he stayed with us quite a lot, and then we thought maybe he'd be okay, and it was 10 years later maybe.
Yeah.
His mother called and wanted to know if he could come out, and said, well, sure. And he had been in big trouble, I mean serious trouble. And he is in Leavenworth now, life in prison.
Oh.
Yeah.
Somebody.
But yeah.
They always let him in. They always
Always
open
let
the
him in.
house. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so give me some of your best German-Russian sayings that you used to say.
The German, Russian, like food or what?
Anything.
Anything?
Sayings that you might say when you're out farming and things weren't going good. Ach, du lieber, no?
Oh, you'd say that, you know. Worse than that.
Yeah.
You know, one time, son John asked my dad, he says, what's the difference between high German and low German? Dad, he thinks about it a while. He says, well, you know, here's what it's like. He says, if you're out shoveling manure, only he didn't call it manure, and you throw some on the wall, and then some of it falls on the ground, some of it sticks on the wall, it's still all horseshit. That was his answer.
That was his answer. So, what kinds of, did you as kids have any free time to play or
Oh, yeah,
horse
we-
around or do any
We
pranks?
go to the lake a lot.
Yeah.
A lot
Oklahoma
of swimming
Lake?
and a lot of fishing.
So where I live now, Oklahoma Lake, that was our
And
playground.
then
Yeah.
my
That was our
uncle
way.
lived down at the river at the old whiting farm, and we used to go down there a lot, play in the river in summertime. When we'd explore the gullies, the hills, and one of my cousins, he was a little on the windy side, and he'd tell us stories and we'd believe him about how the Indians massacred a bunch of white people up there in that drawing. And so, you know, it was things the kids do. We had a lot of fun there.
We always heard stories, well, the Oklahoma school and then that bridge on County Road 13, there was a witch that lived under it or something?
And
or-
there was
Yeah, that used to be called the Witch. It's actually part of this property now, the Rain Dance property.
Okay,
But
what was that
it
story?
was just an old telephone building that was abandoned, and it's where the kids from all over would go party. And so that's all it was.
That's why it was called the Witch House.
Yeah, and there wasn't even a road. Yeah, there wasn't even a road there. So it's you know, where Crossroads wasn't here when we grew up, and so all of this is all new. And
there was a dirt road up past the that was a telephone building. And they put in this telephone line from Cheyenne to Denver, World War II, for communication, safety thing or whatever, and it went right. It goes right through the east end and the west end of Windsor Lake,
right,
Oklahoma Lake.
Yep.
Okay.
So anyway, kids started using that for their partying, and it got pretty serious. They were doing sacrificing dogs and cats and stuff, and
Yeah.
finally our neighbor that owned the place, he tore the whole thing down.
So
Yeah, you
that's
got
the
tired of it.
legend. That's the legend.
That's the legend, yeah.
Oh, any other legends or stories we need to know about?
Well, let's see. We've kept a lot of the artifacts from the Oklahoma school, where Dad and his siblings all went to school, and the Pooters school in Timnath named Bethke. That was Dad's brother-in-law. That was my aunt's husband, and they met at the Oklahoma school.
And he started teaching. That was his first teaching job, was at Oklahoma.
So he was a
school.
teacher, and my oldest aunt was one of his students, and they got married.
Was that
And
scandalous?
then, I don't think back then. I don't think it was, because Helen would have been 18 or 19 by then. But he ended up becoming an iconic Pooter school district superintendent for many years, and they named schools after him. And then the purple curtain in the building there, that's out of the school. That was the curtain for the place.
Okay, we'll take a picture.
And there's still one business in there. John Bruner is still in business on Main Street in Windsor. But the phone numbers are cute. It's, you know, phone number 10, phone number 15. But that curtain's over 100 years old. Well, it's 130 years old, actually.
The school was built in 1911.
1909.
1909.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's a crazy history. Dad literally, he jokes about it. His easy chair in the house he's in now is about 10 feet from where he was born. So in 90 years, he's moved 10 feet.
That's progress.
Never lived anywhere else either.
That's progress.
Lived
So,
on that farm his whole life.
did you think that you would see the development that Martin has created out here in your imagination?
Nobody believe it, you know.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to
Yeah.
see it all, but I think back to my dad or grandpa. There's no way they'd believe that.
Yeah.
In fact, my grandpa Frank.
Frank Lynn?
Grandpa Frank was Mom's dad,
Okay.
Yeah. His
Last
mom's
name.
dead.
and he lived down there. Jim Porth lives in this house now. Jim Porth bought that house
On 2nd Street.
and remodeled it extensively. But one day we were out there, and we'd go down and visit him about once a week. And that was when they were during the Cold War, and these B-36s were leaving vapor trails. That was the first airplane that'd fly high enough to leave vapor trails. And so it was leaving these streaks, and he's looking at them and looking at them and looking at them. And he tells my mother in German that he'd never seen clouds like that before. So she said, well, you know, it was airplanes and bombers. And he would not believe it. There's no way that he'd believe that anybody could do that. Because, you know, for him, even just flying was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But
So did any of your siblings go to serve in the wars, or?
I had a cousin that got killed in World War II. That was Kurtz.
Okay.
That was.
Well, you've got a big extended family. I know that Mrs. Kurtz,
That's a different Kurtz.
Okay.
This was Effie.
Williams, her son.
Yeah.
That was my in-law. So.
Yeah, he was the one that was killed, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Then your brother, Bill, served,
And
but he
Bill-
wasn't.
Yeah, my sister Martha drove a staff car for the general when they had the prisoner of war camp over here.
Oh, what do
Oh,
you
I-
remember about the prison of war
No, I
camp?
can tell you a story about that one.
Yeah.
She was a good driver and fast driver. The motor pool sergeant said, I'm not going to have any damn woman drive my cars. Well, she got really mad about it. Pretty funny. Excuse me. So she said, well, I'll show him. And so the general said, I need to get to Denver as fast as I can. She said, I'll take you. So the car wouldn't go over 75 probably, but
Yeah.
she took him to Denver and back. So that was his favorite driver. So they had a prisoner of war camp at Gould, Colorado, where they cut lumber, firewood for the prisoner camp for winter.
Oh.
They'd go up there and cut firewood so they'd have firewood. Well, they had this big camp up there, and the prisoners set up a shower. They took 50-gallon barrels and put them on a rack and painted them black so the sun would heat the water. And they're under there showering, about 40 or 50 guys with no clothes on, running around showering. She drives by there, and she was looking so hard at him, she hit a fire hydrant, broke the car and broke the fire hydrant. So then she was scared to death that the general was going to fire her. He just thought it was the funniest thing ever.
So I
funny.
didn't know about the Gould. Was that the POWs that were in by Greeley, and then
Yeah.
they went up to work at Gould? That makes
Yeah.
sense. Did you ever hire any of the POWs to
we
work
had
for you on the farm?
We had a few, but my uncle had most of the, on the Solomon farm, the big farm. He had some, and we went over there once in a while, and at noon they'd take a break, and one of them would have an accordion, and they'd be singing and playing, and of course my folks could talk German to them. And they got along just fine, and they had a couple of guards there with carabines. And if they wanted to run off, they could, but there's no place they're going to go.
Yeah.
And, only there was one group of Germans over there that were Nazis, and they had a bad reputation. They wouldn't let them out of the camp.
Really? Okay. So, wow, you are a wealth of information.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
That is amazing. Ted, I'm very curious about your parents. When they came, did they have any? Were they have children? Were they married in Russia?
No,
Were
they didn't know each other back in Germany, and
Were they in Germany or in Russia?
in Russia, I mean. But my going way back, there was a Kaiser Lind that was one of the founders of the town of Denhof in Russia. And they were there about 200 years until this Russian thing blew up for them. And they came over in 1911 in separate boats. My dad and his brother was 3 years older, I think. That was Henry. They came over with their folks to Ellis Island, and the boys had pink eye. So they wouldn't let them come to the U.S. They sent the boys back. Well, they didn't have enough money for all of them to go back, so my grandpa Lynn somehow arranged to deal with the ship captain, and they wound up being on the ship like 6 weeks or so, and they came back, and they came to Galveston and came in there.
Wow.
And
Can you imagine leaving your 8 and 5-year-old son for 6 weeks? Yeah.
On a ship.
so
They
they
must have
had
been
no
well
papers,
behaved.
no papers or anything. So the sailors dressed them up in sailor suits. So
So back in those days, child labor was not an issue.
Yeah.
So they just thought they were.
we're
slave-
illegals.
Yeah. early illegals.
Early
yeah.
illegals, yeah.
Then my mother's family, he was a miller in Russia. He had a flour mill and he made sunflower oil. They had the big house and they had a servant's house, and he was fairly wealthy. So he sold the little house and the mill. He was going to go back when the Bolsheviks got destroyed. He'd go back. Well, it didn't happen. So he lost everything. Well, he bought passage in Germany on a steamship to come to the U.S. When he got there, they get there on a train. They were cheated out of their tickets, And the only ship coming to the U.S. was a coal freighter. And it was going to the Bahamas to deliver coal. So they were on this ship for 6 weeks. And it creaked and groaned. They got in Atlantic storms, and they were afraid the old ship was going to sink, you know, and scared to death. And they had to be down in the bottom. They couldn't live be up in the top with the first class people that were there. So they put them down in the hold, and I guess it was terrible. So and my mother said she'd never get it.
Never get on a ship again.
Never get on another ship. in
And
her
that,
life.
ironically, that ship sank going back. So,
Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord
Yeah.
that you made it. Now I have to ask you because William Kurtz, you referred to him earlier. His mother was a Lind. How was she related to
Who was
you?
that?
William Kurtz,
That was my mother's sister.
your mother's sister. Okay.
She was the oldest one.
Yeah. Do you remember when? Because I used to help take care of. What was Mrs. Kurtz?
Effie?
Effie was the sister. But Effie was the mother's name too. Okay.
Yeah, and then that was her daughter too.
Yeah, it was her daughter. Okay, so that's why I was trying. And so that they never found the body after World War II, and how
Oh, yeah,
tragic
that's
that
what
was.
I understood. They said he was in a tank and it blew up. Oh,
Yeah. Well, that's
Those were tough times.
Those were tough times
Yeah.
from all those, but
All-
yeah.
then my uncle Philip Frank, he joined the Navy before World War II, and he went in the Navy with my brother-in-law, Carla's half-brother, that was Brink, Brinkman. Those two went off to the Navy because there was no jobs. It was during the Depression. So they spent time in the Navy, and then when their time was over, Philip, my uncle, was drafted into the Army as an interpreter so he was sent to Germany as an interpreter.
Okay. Now you mentioned Carla. I remember when we would come up and see Carla from Denver. They lived on kind of where Lee Hardwood's floor is. They had
That's
the little
the house.
that
That's
they
the
had
exact house.
They
Yeah.
had the little gas pump that you
Yeah.
put a quarter in and pump your gas.
That's
What do
right.
you remember about that? Did you go courting her there, or
Oh yeah, I'd go down there and put in a dollar slug and ride around all night on a dollar.
dollar slugging?
Yeah.
So that was our grandpa Brinkman, and he was a master gardener. So I was very little when he passed away, but I remember his gardens. They were just magnificent.
He had the best garden in Windsor.
Yeah. And he was the silver dollar grandpa. He would give us all silver dollars when we'd come over because he got them all from the gas pumps.
From the gas pump, the silver dollar grandpa.
Well, they took the silver dollars and they'd put slugs in, and later on, then if anybody put in a silver dollar, to keep that,
Yeah,
they'd get a slug back.
yeah.
Okay.
And the slug was the same weight, so it worked on the machine.
Yeah. Now, why was there a gas station there on North 7th Street, just kind of by the lake? What was the highways and
Well, that
infrastructure
was
coming
just
into
Highway
town?
7 going north.
Okay.
Yeah, it went up to the old highway.
So that was before the interstates. So
That was the main route.
traffic going north and south, we're just using little roads like that.
And then he also ran milk trucks. That's one reason he had the gas pump, because he could buy his gas that way, wholesale. So
Okay.
he had sell a little gas and had gas wholesale for his trucks.
Yeah, he was a real entrepreneur.
Yeah.
He just
And
did
then
any
he'd
deal.
he bought quite a few farms on tax sales. He'd look at the tax records and find out what farms were up bankruptcy, and he bought the one out there where Carl Feldy had the farm, and up here where
That one's by Severance.
Okay.
and then down here the farm that gravel pits are now, and
Where
Buffalo Ridge, that one, he had
You
that
had
one.
that one.
He had farms all over.
So, Martin, how did you get into the farm ground that Water Valley was originally developed on? Now, I know you've expanded onto some of Ted's farms, but what was the first farm ground that you acquired?
So Water Valley belonged to Kodak. Before that, it belonged to the Great Western Sugar Factory. And before that, it belonged to the Governor of Eaton, Ben Eaton. So it's only had 3 owners, and they were all giant, were corporate. And in the late 80s, Kodak was going through a lot of financial issues, and long story short, there was a opportunity to buy the 1,200 acres that's west of the railroad tracks, and so we put together a partnership quick. And I was just starting dabbling in water rights and land. We started farming out of high school out here, and I thought that was going to be my career. And we got hailed out a couple years in a row and had nothing, so we had farm auctions, sold it off, and I went and sold cars and trucks, and then but I always loved water rights and I loved the ag land. So over the next 30 years, every time I got a little bit ahead, I would talk one of these farmers into either owner carrying it or selling it to me, and it's been a 30-year trajectory. But most of the land that I bought up in this area there was no roads around it, so no one really could foresee what was coming, and I felt that I could see it coming. And then part of it was I bought a lot of farms that were owned by developers that really didn't have the same vision for Windsor, and they wanted to just put in very low income or just as cheap as stuff as they could do. So we spent a lot of time trying to preserve Windsor's legacy for high quality growth and development. And so that was a real masterful thing until the recession, and then it was really a stupid thing because it almost got us, but we made it through it. And this particular property belonged to a real wealthy dryland farmer. His name was Ole Jeffers, and he was a very good farmer, but he had thousands and thousands of acres in this area. And when he passed away, I bought most of the stuff from his kids.
Okay.
So.
Wow, that's interesting. And now, tell about the gravel and sand pits. That was some of the first things we saw in Water Valley.
The Kodak property was just rich with water rights and gravel, and so we really didn't know anything about the sand and gravel business. But I knew that the people that had been doing it did a really bad job of it. They would mine the gravel fence row to fence row and not leave any land for either deer migration on the river or just a nice place to build a house. So. And then they would put old car bodies along the side to keep the sides from sloughing in. So we came up with a reclamation plan that kind of looked like it would have been there 1,000 years, and that Mother Nature did it. And so we started our own mining company back in '91, and we became a fairly large mining company for about 12 years.
His gravel salesman, I told Martin he was an expert in gravel sales. Mm-hmm. Finally found out all he knew about gravel was he used to drive on gravel roads.
Right. Dad comes to me and says, "Hey, I have coffee every day with a guy, and he says he's an expert in gravel and wants a job from me, Vern Troutman." So I go have coffee with Vern, and I hire him. And
he's a great guy.
And he's a great guy, and he was so we started selling gravel, and one day, I don't remember what happened, but I got mad at him about something. I said, "Vern, I thought you said you knew about gravel. You've been in it your whole life." He goes, "No, actually, I've been on it my whole life. I've been driving on gravel roads my whole life." That was his key. But you couldn't help but love him because he was a very good salesman. He could sell anything, and we just kept mining and selling, and we mined out millions and millions of uneconomical gravel. So it really wasn't making us money, but what it left was a beautiful place to build homes and fairways on the golf course, and